saying that we're going to see 85, 90% retracements moving forward?
Oh, I do. I still believe in reflexivity. I still believe there's people paying millions of dollars for serial numbers loosely related to JPEGs. I saw a funny joke on the internet that said an NFT is like getting married and your wife is banging everyone in town and you can't do anything about it, but you got the marriage certificate. That's the NFT. So, I think those guys got to lose all their money.
Okay, all
I think
right.
they need to sell the bottom and lose all their money, and then we can go back up.
I will say, I personally believe, I think 85%, I think that is going to be diminished, whether it's 75%, 70%, 80%. I do think we will see a slight retracement. If 69 was the top, 80% would leave us at about 14.
It would be 11K if it did 85%. It would be 11K if we did 85%. But if the Fed printed so much money that you can't just get there because there's so much capital out there, maybe you're at 75%. But it's still, it's a big dip, man.
I mean, time will tell.
Here,
Time will tell. I'm a Bozier. I've stacked a little X. I've stacked a little Pulsechain. So I have stacked a little bit, but not a whole lot. I'll bring the floor to you, Richard. Before we talk about what is Pulsechain, what is PulseX, what is the difference, why do we need it? Just go ahead and give us, just a brief 1 or 2 minute description.
Yeah. So I founded the world's largest airdrop where all of you guys that love your NFTs are going to have free copies of all your NFTs on the Pulsechain. You copy and you paste Ethereum, and then you make some improvements. You make it so it only deflates instead of inflates. It just burns a quarter of the fees. You make it so that it doesn't burn the environment with proof of work. You do proof of stake instead, which is what they're trying to do themselves with Ethereum 2.0. So we're beating Ethereum 2.0 market with their own features, and they're on all the same coins. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to change anything. You just change one setting in your MetaMask, and it works. It instantly works. So you can use a testnet right now and see all your coins. You just manually add them. Here's the address for this coin. And so Pulsechain, which raised, I don't know, so many billions in sacrifice for freedom of speech, that blockchains are speech and they should be protected. That is like Ethereum. It's an Ethereum fork. And then PulseX is like Uniswap. It's a Uniswap fork. And there's $1 billion of sacrifice in that active phase where the rate is going up 5% tomorrow at pulsex.com. It's exceeded my expectations for how much money would get sacrificed to support freedom of movement and freedom of association, assembly. There's a lot of people locked down right now. It's not fair.
Yeah. Speaking of exceeding expectations, you kind of brought up a good point where this can actually lower the fees of ETH by essentially a lot of the transactions will be happening on the Pulse network. Do you really think that Pulse can compete with the OpenSea or a Uniswap when it really comes to, the amount of activity?
I do, because, we see people FOMOing into anything that they get airdropped for free. So Gascoin, SOS were recent airdrops that only airdropped a small subset of the Ethereum community. We're airdropping everybody. And there's a yield farming program where you can bridge in your ERC20s on the Ethereum network into the Pulse chain and pair them with your free PRC20 copies and make money yield farming. And you're backing the value of the thing that only you guys got for free. Nobody else, you're not getting diluted. You're not getting, you are the only person that's getting that copy. Your keys are the only keys that can access that copy. So I think it's going to be the most successful yield farming project in the history of the internet. It's definitely the largest airdrop. And the funny thing is, people only care about prices and tickers. We got your same prices. We got your tickers. The liquidity and the pairs bond the prices together. And so maybe they flop around, and in the beginning, maybe the Pulse chain pairs of some things are worth less than the Ethereum pairs. And for other things that are priced out on Ethereum, they can't even function there anymore. Those things may have higher values on the Pulse chain. And so once things have wiggled around and everything has found their stable point, I think that you're going to see, let's say Chainlink that goes up on Ethereum, you're going to see Chainlink on Pulse go up at the same time because they're bonded by the liquidity in the pair. And so I think you're going to have a derivative play on all Ethereum assets in the Pulse chain, whether the teams want to play or not.
It's interesting. The market will eventually get to decide that, whether it's a wrapped Bitcoin kind of always mirrors the real Bitcoin price. And
so, we'll see. I guess my question for Richard would be, when Pulsar? That's
yes. When launch timeline for dummies, specifically for, I don't want to get too technical with the details. Launch timeline for Pulse. When Pulse?
So I think that you're going to see, you get incremental. You're going to see go.hex.com work on the Pulse chain and on the the Ethereum chain. Then you're going to see, like, we already have Uniswap working on the testnet. So you can go trade on the testnet with your coins. That was snapshotted 2 months ago. And then you're going to see PulseX, which is our Uniswap fork, launch. And then you're going to see everyone sacrifice balances that, like, you sacrifice. There's $1 billion of sacrifice right now. Those are the guys who are getting all the supply. So you're going to see those balances credited to the testnet. And then you're going to have a mainnet date announced. So, you know, I'd like to say 2 months, but it's been 2 months for 2 months because software is hard. So, you know, just watch the progress.
Do you already have, like, are you waiting for, like, the PulseX to be done to, like, start everything? Or
no,
are you
I mean,
be releasing
it's a Uniswap V2 fork. It's a Uniswap V2 fork. So all of the code is just Uniswap V2 code where you set the fee2 address that is already built in there. And then the only part that isn't, like, chosen is we have to name the inflating token that people receive for yield, because inflating token is a terrible name, and have, like, a DAO that votes. So the PulseX people that are sacrificing now control the DAO that controls which pairs get rewarded the inflation token. So it's kind of off the shelf stuff, right? Like, DAOs are off the shelf from Gnosis or Uniswap or Curve, and then inflating token stuff is from Pancake or Sushi. It's really, these are off the shelf components that we don't actually have to code much in order to bring them online.
Okay, I have a quick
I'm really
question.
Interested to see, like, when it releases, like, how the market's going to have, like, PulseX Zcash compared to Zcash, and PulseX, you know, whatever coin compared to Recoin. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be like a time of war. It's going to be a time of war because if everything doesn't go perfectly, or even if it does go perfectly, there's going to be people trying to say that Pulse and PulseX is a scam. So it'll certainly be an interesting time for you.
I can't wait.
And for all of us that are in the project.
Yeah, if everything goes perfectly, either every price cuts in half or every price doubles, as long as it's equal, but it'll really be somewhere in between. So yeah, that will be interesting to see. Now, there's a question. I know you've answered this before, but there's a lot of first-time viewers who aren't really sure, haven't seen a Richard Hart interview before. There's a question they always ask, especially when you tell newer people about this coin. When CoinMarketCap and when CoinGecko, and why? What is going on with that? People want to know, of course.
We have a public class action lawsuit against CoinMarketCap for lying about our market cap for years now. They occasionally just screw up and don't lie properly and stick us on the front page where we belong. So a week ago, we were on the front page for 5 hours where we belonged. It's just hilarious that if you look at, we spent $20 million in Ethereum gas over the last 2 years. We spent $500,000 in Ethereum gas yesterday. These are real users. It's a giant, strong community. Over 250,000 people hold the coin. Over 100,000 people have stakes in the coin. You can't get any more real metrics. All of our trading is on chain. You can see every single trade, who made money, who lost money, where the liquidity is at, what else people are buying, when their stakes are ending. It's the most public and honest and open system in crypto. And yet we're treated like second-class citizens while everything else around us fails. We have 100% flawless, perfect operation since launch. Nobody has that. Bitcoin doesn't have that. Ethereum doesn't have that. Bitcoin.org was hacked just like a month or two ago, or 3 or 4 months ago. Hex has been perfectly flawless, and we demand the respect now.
All righty. Well, Richard, we'll just go ahead in the segment. You got about 30 seconds. Leave us with some parting thoughts.
Sure.
I think it was a little weighted your ways because the third topic was your coins. So, you stole it from Ragsy.
I give it to her. You can have my coins, Ragsy. It's all good. These are fungible. I got to tell you, man, I think that there's been so much free money in cryptocurrency that you're so lucky that you can get it, that you can't get that anywhere else in the world. Just millions and millions and millions of dollars of free money. Check out pulsex.com. There's $1 billion of sacrifice for freedom of movement, freedom of assembly there right now. It's a miracle. Like, it's really, we're changing everything. We're making everything better. We're getting rid of middlemen. We're giving people free money. We're getting people to delay gratification. We can't win any harder. So check out pulsex.com if you can. And, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum, they've topped, and I was right. I called on the day. We're now down 41% from my call, and we were down 55% earlier. Maybe consider.
I will say this, though. In that tweet, I don't believe you necessarily said it was the top. I did believe you say it was
couldn't, because I didn't want to cause the top at the time.
And maybe
that's
I think
the thing
you
is,
did
like,
have
if I call the top and I make the
large
top
time frame, so I could be just kind of being like a stickler here. But
no, but if I make the top, I'm a dick, right? Like, I shouldn't do that. I said, look, we fell out of the parabola, and last time this happened, Ethereum kept going up for 27 days. What was the last time? It was the Bitcoin top, right? So you had to read between the lines a little bit, but it was, I drew the green line up and I drew the red line down. So like it, and I never make Bitcoin calls. I made one in like 2 years. That was my only call for 2 years. It's not like I'm throwing these things at the wall and some of them stick.
Fair enough.
I don't make many calls. But you are right. Like if I didn't write this as the top, the next time I do it, I will write this as the top, but then that's more likely to cause a top.